Hey everyone, if you've been following me on Instagram or my community posts, you know that I got into my first motorcycle crash recently. It just happened last week, so I'm still kind of mentally recovering from that just because it's a bit of a shock since it's my first motorcycle crash. But because this channel is about sharing my experience as a new rider and my first experience, I thought it would be best for me to share that experience with all the riders out there or future riders who want to know what it's like to have your first motorcycle crash or what it's like to crash a vehicle from a dealership. And in my situation, I was at the Barnes Harley-Davidson Dealership doing a motorcycle review on a used Indian Scout. I know it's a little ironic considering that Indian Motorcycle Company and the Harley-Davidson Motorcycle Company are rivals, but there was a used trade-in and I've been wanting to ride an Indian Scout for the longest time to compare with the Sportsters. So when I checked the dealership website, I saw a used Scout on their roster, so I quickly called Jason and said, hey, book me a test ride for a motorcycle review, and he was actually against it because he wanted me to take out this like awesome street fob that had a 128 stage 4 kit on it, and I pussied out and I told him like, hey, listen man, that's way too much bike for this beginner rider here, so please just give me the keys to the Scout. So long story short, I did my regular routine for my motorcycle review for the Indian Scout, went over the controls and started doing my friction test along the street next to the dealership just to get the feel of the motorcycle before I actually go onto the city or the highway. And it's a good practice for anybody who isn't familiar with a motorcycle. Don't just bring it out to the city. If you got some space, make sure you know where the friction zone is on a motorcycle and where it likes to be for your first and second gear. So that's kind of what I usually do for all my motorcycle reviews, and this one was no different. I was just getting the feel of the Indian Scout, not really realizing that there is oil on the road. And I guess I should have seen it, but it's something that I wasn't really paying attention to because I honestly thought it was maybe water or like garbage juice that leaks out of a garbage truck. I don't know. I just didn't think it was oil for some reason because I was an idiot. So you'll see the footage me going back and forth. And then once I got the feel of comfort on this motorcycle, I was like, you know what? Let's take it to the road and see what happens. And as soon as I hit that first turn, I remember feeling the front wheel slipping a bit. And at that point, my rear wheel was already in the same trajectory, obviously, as my front wheel. And I was on a slight lean angle to finish my left turn. And as soon as the rear wheel touched the slippery oil, the bike just went under me. And it was like on a sheet of ice, and there's nothing I could have done to keep the bike up. And so instead, I just kind of flew backwards because there's no sissy bar to hold me back or anything like that. And then the bike just spun around, I believe, and I was just sliding onto the ground for good like 5 to 7 feet. And I was only going like, I don't know, 40 kilometers per hour, if that. But my adrenaline shot up, so I couldn't really feel any pain. But afterwards, I did feel and had a little bruise on my palm. I don't know if you can still see it here. This whole entire area was discolored and it was bruised, and I can still feel a little bit sensitive here, which is why I haven't been riding it, because I want to make sure that my throttle hand is good to go. And then it was my left hip where it hit the ground that I felt soreness, but that pain only lasted throughout the night, and I didn't really feel it the day after. However, obviously my palm is pretty bruised and it is having effect on my dexterity, so I'm just gonna wait till it's fully healed before I get back on the bike. One of the key things I want to share with you guys is I was so thrilled that my gloves that I wore, which is Foggy Garage, so if you want really nice high quality leather gloves, it's going to save your hands and still look stylish. I know a lot of viewers were asking about what these gloves were on my previous videos, and these are Foggy Garage. I can't remember the name. It's like Uceris or something like that. I've been using these gloves for about 9 months now, and yeah, like I always get compliments on these gloves, and as well, it saved my hands. And I'll show you what it looks like. You can see on the palm where there's a hole. All of this was sliding across. And if I wasn't wearing this glove, then more likely it would have been my skin and maybe even some of the meat of my hands being ripped off onto the ground. And for those who are looking for the same particular pair, I will put the link below with the 10% discount that the vendor has given me for this. So yeah, it's damn decent gloves. Thank you for that. And my riding pants here, which is Acromont. I don't know, I bought it from Fort 9 as my first set of gears. For this one, you actually don't see that much damage other than maybe part of my knees right here. You can see a little bit of scuff marks that was sliding underneath me. And again, it was mostly on the left hip, but I think it was just the impact onto the ground that I felt, because there's no scraping marks, or this G material was really good at saving my skin, obviously. But yeah, with that said, like, you know me, like, I'm a firm believer of AtGag, which is all the gear all the time. And I'm super glad that I wasn't squidding at this time. For those out there who always value motorcycle safety and who wears all the gear all the time, kudos to you, and thank you for influencing me to continue to ride with all my motorcycle gear on, because yeah, if I was out there trying to look cool, not wearing gloves and just a t-shirt, I'm pretty sure I would be in a lot more pain than I am in right now. The other thing I want to talk about was how the dealership handled my crash, and honestly, I was extremely surprised of how the dealership handled it. I know I've been friends with the dealership for a while, since I started this motorcycle channel doing motorcycle reviews. In the end, I don't get any special benefits. I don't get special discounts on their motorcycles or their items. With that said, I wasn't really sure how they were going to handle my accident on their motorcycle. First thing they did was run to the scene and try to make sure that I was okay. They didn't really care about the motorcycle. Obviously, it was leaking fuel, which was it's a further hazard. So Jason was kind enough to bring the motorcycle back to the lot, while Yash, who's the other salesman, came to comfort me and making sure that I was okay. And I wasn't really expecting that from a dealership, to be honest. Usually they just kind of see me as a cash cow, and that if I'm not out there to buy a motorcycle or buy a vehicle from them, then they're not going to treat me like it as a family, let's call it. I know it sounds cliche, but honestly, that day I really saw the true colors of the people that work in this dealership. So I just want to personally say thank you to Jason and the team at Barnes Harley-Davidson Dealership in Victoria for allowing me to process all the emotions and recover from this incident. I know it's a very minor incident, but the bike did have quite a bit of damage on the fuel tank, but not once any employee from the dealership came over to make me feel bad about the bike. I remember the line that the sales manager was telling me, "I'm so glad that you're okay. Bikes can be replaced, but you cannot." And that line kind of stuck with me, and honestly, that made the whole experience much better, even though it sucked, because I mean, it was my first crash. But knowing that there's people out there that are not just out there for the money and actually care for you, that's something that I really truly felt from the dealership. So yeah, if you are in the area looking for a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, or just in motorcycle in general, go check out the Barnes Harley-Davidson Dealership in Victoria and say hello and thanks to Jason and the team. Now, I want to say thank you to all my viewers and my followers who's left a comment or gave me a DM on Instagram, because this is as real as it gets. I'm not some YouTuber out there that's making tons of money on this. This is a part of a hobby of mine. And yeah, like, this accident did scare me. Even though it was a minor, it scared me in the head that a simple accident like this can happen anytime. And it gave me a little bit of a wake-up call, because behind this camera here, like, I still have family that I have to take care of, and they depend on me to be healthy. So yeah, there was a lot of thoughts that went through my head, and there was a lot of emotions that's going through my head. And even though I'm not 100% committed on one or the other, I'm gonna try to ride again. Obviously, I don't think I'm scared of riding. It's just now the threat of bad things happening to me on the two wheels just became more real. You would notice that I'm always about riding safe, riding prepared. And yeah, like, for me to not see that, and it happened so suddenly on the road that I'm traveling very frequently, it was a big shock. So yeah, I'm gonna take it slow. Thank you for all those support, either through a comment or just leaving me a direct message on Instagram, because it definitely gives me motivation to get back on the two wheels. So with that said, ride safe, ride prepared, ride on. Peace.